Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tennessee Twos Disc Golf Podcast. My name is Daniel. Across from me is Ethan. Um, yeah, crazy week.
Right?
It's been absolutely nuts. For those of you who are listening to this post produced on Apple or Spotify, just a reminder Tuesday nights we go live. We talk about this stuff live on Facebook. We've got a chat box so you can always come in, give your 2 cents, join in some of the games that we play. Highly encourage you to do that with us, and so on and so forth. Got a lot to talk
Absolutely.
about. Music City Open, we were there. If you guys were there and you came to say hi to us, we appreciate you. It was an awesome time out there. If you guys have not seen them yet, we did a bunch of exclusive Tennessee Twos only interviews with a bunch of players. You can find some of them on our Twitter. All of them are on our Instagram, and a few clips and short clips are going to be on the Facebook page as well. We're going to create a full collection of those into a singular YouTube video that's going to be posted later this week.
Correct.
For those of you, I know we promised an after hours episode or two this last week. We did not get a chance. Um, Prize Picks didn't post any lines for us to do a hitting the line segment, and we did so much extra content for you guys that we just went ahead and said we don't really need to. We worked our butts off out there for you guys, so we skipped after hours this week. I'm sorry, but we will definitely get some more of those going for you.
Yes, absolutely. So, I guess first things first is what did you think about the tournament? Like, in general, how was the atmosphere? Was this your first pro tour you've been to?
This is the first pro tour that I've been to. Not the first big event, but it is the first DGPT event that I have been to. And I don't want to give too much of like how I really felt about the event and how it, functioned and everything like that because we were given a different type of access. So
Yeah.
it didn't necessarily feel like what it might have felt like to be a fan, but we did get a little bit of the fan experience and it was awesome. I mean, I can definitely tell, even though I wasn't at Music City last year, they did make an effort to increase the spectator quality out there. And that was really cool because last year there were a ton of complaints, especially at Mill Ridge, that spectator access was just not great. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought they did a really good job this year of, mitigating a lot of the issues from last year and improving the experience.
Yes.
Um, and then, other than that, I just want to, tip my hat to you guys over at DGPT and DGN for giving us media access, letting us do our thing. You guys were all super helpful. Nobody out there made us feel like we weren't supposed to be there or that we were in the wrong place at any time. And they helped us out at every single step whenever they could. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys. You guys are doing awesome things out on the Pro Tour right now.
Yes,
What about you?
absolutely.
How
Man,
did you feel about
I
it?
loved it. I was there last year as well, of course, just as a spectator. Um, However, in the spectator world, um, you that was my first event last year, and you're kind of in awe watching these players, you know,
Right.
and you're just like, wow, so that's what it's like to be a touring pro, you know,
Yeah. Oh
and
my God. Yeah.
yeah, and this year I kind of knew what to expect, you know, I got to see it all, but I was more taking it in this year, you know, like really appreciating the certain lines that were hit, really appreciating the distances that were got, and all of the shot shaping abilities.
Yes.
So that was much uh, better for my liking, because I wasn't just like, oh wow, look there's Paul, or it wasn't like that so much as just being able to appreciate good disc golf. So for the spectator experience on my part, it was much better. I know we only walked through the course one entire time, um, for the MPO lead card on the last and final day. Um,
Right.
but I did enjoy the course changes. The most important thing is, as a spectator, you got to see everything, like you were saying. You know,
Right.
as in last year, it wasn't so much that way. So they did accommodate the spectators very well this year. Um, and they got some good feedback and some bad feedback, and they will grow on it. I know they will. But yeah, I was a super big fan of it.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
I was about to say, you want to just go ahead and
yeah,
jump right in on leaderboards?
yeah, let's talk about those leaderboards. I I mean, I don't know. One of the things I also wanted to point out was just like you watch these people put together big shots and big moments all the time, especially in these coverages, but when you get out there and you get a chance to watch these shots without any type of cameras, you see a disc come out of somebody's hand, and then you switch to the catch cam, and
Right.
you see that disc fly in. And don't get me wrong, I mean, there were only like two or three of these types of shots in the entire last round that made me say this, but there were still two or three shots in that final round that I watched, and you watch him line up his shot, um, and you just think to yourself, how is this going to get anywhere near the basket? Like the big one that I can think of is Chris Dickerson on, oh gosh, it was on the back nine area. So what was like 11 or 12 somewhere, where he pulls out. He basically missed the landing zone for the primary entrance
Oh,
gap on
yes,
that
that
hole,
was, yeah.
and I know he has the capability to make this shot because we've seen him do it before. But it's still, you watch him line up this shot, and everybody's like, who has hit the right spot is throwing like a zone approach, a basic little like Anheuser flex through the gap that they're supposed to. Well, he didn't have any view of the gap. He had to go over the top of all these trees, and he's throwing a force, and my mind is just going to, how is it even possible that this disc could end up anywhere near the basket?
Right.
And I mean, he straight up pured this line. I mean, every single one of us was just like, we watched the shot go up into the air, and we're like, I mean, there's no way that this could even be good. And there was one group of spectators that could actually see the line to the basket and watched the disc land,
Yeah.
basically inside of 15 feet, and they erupted
Yeah.
into applause. It was nuts. So that was one of the coolest parts for me, is like, you've seen it on TV, they're capable of these absolutely ridiculous shots that I would never even think of throwing in my greatest, most desperate time of need, and he executes it to perfection on his way to a victory.
Yeah.
It was cool to watch him see those kinds of stuff.
Yes.
I don't even know.
Yeah, it's awesome. And kind of like chat saying, otherworldly to hear those discs come out of people's hands.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
it literally does sound like a jet taking off. It's
Yeah.
that's what it's like. And also thank you, Johnny. We do appreciate the kind words. Um, we did our best
Yeah.
out there. We really tried to um, make the best content for you guys and girls. And yeah,
Through every technical difficulty that we encountered, which
mm,
was 2 hours worth of trying to figure out how to get these interviews at the best quality possible, nothing went right for us.
nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
We
And
had three
we were
backup
just
plans, and
happy.
every backup plan failed.
Every single one of them. So we were just happy to have something decent to give you guys.
Yeah, so we will be what I thought was prepared for this type of event was not prepared for this type of event, and we will be even more prepared at the next one we are at. Guarantee you that.
Absolutely.
Which is very possible. Sam, that's over the Disc Golf Network, was like uh, pretty adamant about us trying to get back out to another event. So
Yeah.
that's definitely in our future. Um,
Yeah, I don't
so
know exactly how it's all going to work out, but, hopefully we can make it to one more this year.
yeah, yep.
And hopefully it'll be an Elite Series this time around too.
Yeah, I mean, Idlewild's the closest, I would say, so we will see about it. Um, but, anyways, without further ado, for the ones that don't know yet, Chris Dickerson ended up taking down Music City Open, coming in first. Um, you had Adam Hammis close behind, coming in second, and sneaking in at third place off of the third card, shooting the hot round of 12 down, Larly Lehtinen. I think I said that right. I think I did pretty good there. And
Larry Lettinen.
Larly Lehtinen, and it was it was a battle there for a little while between Chris and Adam. It was exciting to watch. It was a little bit of
Yeah,
tug of war. Um,
absolutely.
and Chris ended up, I think he kind of broke it down and was able to get those last couple strokes, just because Adam had to play a little bit more aggressive. Uh, Adam was not uh, shy about going for things, so um, commend him for playing as well as he did to try to catch Chris.
Right.
But yeah, so that's your top three there. Nico rounding out top four. Um, on FPO, we had Missy Gannon taking it down with a 6 down total. Cat Merch coming in second, 4 strokes behind, and Macy Valadiaz coming in third, 5 strokes behind at a 1 down. Macy did great first 2 rounds. Then she ended up kind of finding herself in hard situations there, especially with her putts. She wasn't able to even take a putt that wasn't um, in the brush, in the woods, in the briars, it was very obstructed putts for her. But that is part of the course. That's part of disc golf, and other people have to do it too. Um, Missy played very consistent. That's She just held it out, you know. Um, while other players started to struggle, she just continued to stay clean,
Yeah.
and that was a big part of it. So, congratulations to both Chris and Missy on their wins at Music City Open.
Yeah. Let's dive a little bit deeper into FPO real quick and kind of talk about what really went on.
Hmm.
Um, One of the people we saw really trying to fight for a chance to either win or at least be up on the podium was Holly Finley. I mean, she
Yeah.
came out roaring on the front half of round three, and faltered a little bit down the stretch after that. But I mean, she looked really great. She was putting a lot of pressure on Missy and Macy
Yes.
to do something. Macy, again, you'd kind of talked about it. She did not have great situations off of what were honestly very good throws most
Yes.
of the time throughout the entire front nine. I mean, she played hole four to damn near perfection. She
Hmm.
essentially parked where the men's basket is located. For you guys who've not seen hole four, I mean, it's a tough shot. That approach is nasty. And she parked where the men's basket would be, which is difficult for the men to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it was impressive.
Unfortunately, that means she left herself with a 45-foot, putt for birdie
Yep.
coming back to the basket because she laced it just through that tiny gap.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, she got herself into some weird situations where she had a lot of 10, 15, 20-foot putts where she was, putting through thick stuff, or she was putting from a knee, or she was putting underneath branches being obstructed, and so on and so forth. And what I really kind of noticed was when she started needing to make these 30 footers that she was getting, especially out on the back nine, she had not created any form of consistency or confidence in her putt because she hadn't had any putts like that. She hadn't
Yeah.
had any open, unobstructed putts from 20 feet to the edge of circle, and that means she wasn't prepared essentially, and it's no fault of her own necessarily. It's just how that course plays. You can throw two perfect shots on a lot of these par fours and end up 10 feet from the basket without a putt,
Yeah.
you know and
It is possible there.
and absolutely, and we saw a lot of stuff that just kind of played really funky out there on that last card for the women, and it ended up being a really nasty battle where Missy ended up shooting even par in the final round and
Hmm.
still ending up with a four-stroke lead in the
Yep.
final count.
And she, like I said, she just had to stay consistent and kind of let other players beat themselves.
Yeah. And I think um, one of the things that really did that for her was back there on the Nashville Cactus Hole.
Mm-hmm.
She got herself into some trouble a couple of different times, um, and she was lining up her stuff, and you could see it on coverage. Actually, her husband's back there like, "Hey, there's a hole out here,"
Right.
and she's kind of looking. She turns around and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna just do that." I mean, the amount of times players think of going backwards as the best option is
Slim to
basically
none.
never.
Yeah.
And this was the one situation where she needed to do it, and her caddy, which was her husband, absolutely came through. And that was a weird turning point for her throughout the round
It was.
because after that, she pretty much birdied out for the rest of the round from there. Um, she had three birdies and no bogeys from
Yep.
that point on, and that was a turning point because at that point in time, Macy was either in solo lead or tied for solo lead with Holly, and Missy was actually falling behind at that point.
Right.
So it's amazing how making a good decision on a hole where you got into some bad trouble and accepting that one bogey and just saying, you know what, make the smart play, move on to the next hole,
Yep.
immediately changes her round and she takes down a victory.
Yeah. That was a turning point. And a lot of people noticed that. We talked to them after the trophy was presented, and we talked to Tom, and I asked him, I was like, so what was going through your mind there? You know, like seeing her crawl in there, not have anywhere. And he said, I was standing right behind her and I was looking where she was looking. He said, and I couldn't even fit a disc there if I wanted to try to poke it through. And she was trying to throw it through. And he's like, I'm looking at this in front of her and I can see all of her. So he said, my automatic mindset was like, come back towards me. You know, it's open. And he's like, just toss out, pitch around, take your medicine, and move on. And it did help. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
so yeah, it just kind of goes to show that having a good caddy, and especially one that you trust, is going to be more and more crucial moving forward as the disc golf pro tour grows.
1,000 rated caddy out there.
Yep,
I
absolutely.
mean, I just imagine how if she decided to go for that shot, punching it forward and didn't get out, which I give that shot from because we were on that hole a little bit later with the MPO
Right.
card, and I was looking through that hole, that same exact hole, and I was thinking to myself, "There's, it's not possible."
Yeah.
I give that shot a 1% chance of success.
Yep.
That's what after seeing it, I don't care how good you are. You could be 1060 rated. I still give that shot a 1% chance of success. For
Yeah.
me, it's a 0% chance of success. I'm looking at that and I'm like, there's no way I'm even going forward, pitch out behind,
Right.
but that was beautiful. On the MPO side, though, it was tight. It was tense. The entire front nine was just, I can't even tell you. It was, nobody was talking. On a lot of these cards, you'll still get a little bit of chatter. Players will talk to each other a little bit, but this front nine with the MPO card on the lead card was so close the entire time. Outside of giving their scores and making sure that they were the next one on the box to tee, they didn't say a word to each other.
Yeah.
That's how tense this was.
Yeah. It was tense.
Every single one of them on that card, Ezra excluded because of the couple of bogeys early on,
Right.
they all knew that they had a chance, a legitimate chance after the first 8 holes before hole 9 to win this tournament.
Yep.
And it was quiet,
It
and it
was
was
quiet.
extremely fun to watch.
It was. You could tell
I
how
mean,
serious they were taking each and every shot. So,
absolutely.
and Justin in chat says, I caddied this weekend, but his player dropped out. Um, shout out to Nick Duran. Hopefully his hip gets to feeling better. Um, there was actually a couple of players that had to drop from the tournament. Uh, Bino dropped after day one with a either sprained ankle or some kind of pull in his ankle. Hopefully, no broken
Right.
bones. But yeah, Makala, not sure how his last name is pronounced, and then Nick Duran from Team Westside, and yeah, from what I had heard, um, and they were both on the same card. Yeah, that's wild. But pulling a muscle, spraining an ankle, sometimes that's just part of it. And as a
Yeah.
caddy, I don't think there's anything that you can do or could have done differently um,
No. You
to
can't you
prevent
can't
anything
caddy
like that. So,
you can't caddy an injury.
mm-mm,
I'm sorry. That's there's nothing you can do about that.
right.
It's just one of them
The
things.
only thing you can do is have the best intentions for the player, and if they're willing to go on, you just try to give them the best shot that you know, that they can
Yeah.
make. So,
Absolutely. So I mean, the biggest difference here, I would say, is number one. Chris Dickerson went into the final round with a three-stroke lead. He didn't play the front nine quite as immaculately as he probably wanted to, although he avoided a bogey on nine that Adam took. But outside of that bogey, Adam played the front nine, seven birdies, one par,
yeah.
and then that bogey. And then he went on to birdie 10 and 11, with which Chris also missed. However, he went on a little bit of a dry spell there from 12 through 15 where he didn't birdie anything. And Chris was able to keep his composure, took three of the four birdies there, and that basically built up his lead that he would hold for the rest of the round.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of Nico, if you guys saw it, we actually had an interview with Nico after his second round where he
Which
was,
is rare, by the way. Um,
yeah,
Nico has only done mandatory interviews for press conferences, and he has only ever been on one podcast to get interviewed. So this was pretty special for us. Um,
yeah,
uh, he had been on uh, Smashbox once before, and that didn't turn out so well. So huge thanks to Nico for giving us his time.
yeah. And honestly, if I can say so myself, besides, the interviews with Chris where we really got to talk to the winner, Nico's ended up being probably what I feel to be one of the best interviews of the entire weekend.
Yep.
Shout out to Nico. We appreciate your time. It was a blessing for us. So thank you so much. Um, Now, one of the things he said in that interview was he had been missing one through four pretty consistently both of the first two rounds, and his number one goal in round three was to get out to a hot start and get those holes that he had been missing. First thing he did, holes one through five, all birdied.
Yep.
Now, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later because this is going to be Daniel's drama for the week. On hole five, and I know it was mentioned, so pretty much everybody's aware of this because it was mentioned on the Disc Golf Network. On hole five, after his tee shot, he got a warning for taking too much time. And we were all pretty interested to see how was that going to affect the rest of his round.
Right.
He went par on 6 and 7, 8 and 9. He bounced back pretty well with birdie, took a bogey on 10, and then birdie, par, bogey.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to talk too much about, you know, how much that would have made a difference if you take both those bogeys and turn them into pars. Technically, he still only ties for second with Adam.
Right.
But going 5 for 5 to start off your rounds
Was
and then getting that warning,
yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine.
So I agree with the call that should have been made. However, I didn't see any obsessive amount of time taken in those first five holes. Maybe it's because we're used to Nico,
Hole four's
already,
hole
but
four's putt was hole four's putt. I will
and
say that was the longest one, and it was interesting to me that hole four's putt was the one he should have been called the warning on, but he
but they
waited
waited on the
until hole
tee pad
five's tee, which I estimated around 35 seconds.
at
So it
the
was over.
most, right?
It was over, I'm pretty sure, but it was just such a weird time to make that call.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about more about that. Um, that's kind of Daniel's drama is going to be some of that stuff, and there's a couple other things we'll talk about. We won't get into certain specifics, but we'll talk a little bit about that. Um, and it's but that was interesting, to note that after a 5 for 5 start, where Chris had actually missed a birdie and then missed 6 and 7, where Adam got 6 and 7, and Nico was primed to continue his run. What could we possibly have seen if that never happened?
Yeah.
You know,
One of those
so
things you may never know.
may never know.
You may never know. But, yeah, you want to maybe get into a little bit of who am I?
Let's do it.
Real quick? Yeah. What you think?
Let's
I
do
went
it.
first last week. You go first this week.
Okay.
As far as
All right.
asking the questions. I was about to say, I was like, well, I guess I could have explained that a little better. Oopsie.
Nah, I get you. I get you. All right. Tell me when you're ready.
I am born ready.
Okay. Wait, hold on. I think I got the wrong one.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Oh, no. What am I doing? Oh,
That face, though, that was great. For the ones of
no.
you that are listening on audio, you need to come back. Come back. Come back. Go watch the YouTube. Go watch the Facebook. That face was great.
Might have been beautiful. It might have not been beautiful.
I mean, there was somewhere in between that.
Sure. All right. I play. I might be throwing you a bone. I told you this before we started. I might be throwing you a bone here, but we're going to talk about it anyways because I want to.
Okay.
I play for Prodigy. I placed in the top 10. I parked 20% of the holes, which ranked me third in the tournament. And I hit 65% of my Circle 1X putts. That ranked me 94th.
Ooh. That's 65%. 94th? There were some people hitting putts out there. Prodigy player. Did that automatically, that circle one stat actually changes things. So let's see, we had and when you say top 10, could it be tied for 10th?
Yes.
Okay.
That includes anybody if they have a 10 or lower.
I'm going with Justin Rozak.
It is. It is Justin Rozak. That was kind of your bone.
Yep.
Was that because Alden's Circle 1 putting was
that's
pretty
what
much nasty.
Yeah, I figured that. To play 6th, Alden was very good. So yeah. All right, cool. I got a point for that one. Boys. All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, I want to talk about my other player because I wanted to pick him, but he is sponsored by Trilogy, and I'm not going to give you any extra points if you can get it, but he basically was the only player by Trilogy to place in the top 10, so it was pretty obvious who it
right.
is. But I want to call these stats out because it's kind of nuts.
Let's hear him.
He had a 91% fairway hit, which ranked second, 22% park rate, which ranked second, 59% circle ones in regulation, which ranked second, 80% circle twos in regulation, which ranked second, and 52% birdie rate, which ranked third. Who am I?
Lolly.
Larry. Now I
Standing.
wanted to, and obviously I wouldn't have told you, all of those stats if
Yeah.
it was a real one. but he was the only trilogy player in the top 10, so it wasn't even worth.
Right.
But I wanted to call that out. I mean, first of all, shot if you guys missed the interview, if you missed the interview, go back and watch it. It's on the Instagram, the full version, I believe.
Yep.
Second best in the tournament in 4 categories, and 4 of the most important categories being fairway hits, park percentage, and circles in regulation, and third in birdie percentage. I mean, come on.
He played lights out. I mean,
Can you imagine if he didn't take that double bogey on 9?
yeah,
What could have
14
happened? And
down. That would have
if
been
that had happened too, and the pressure that you might have seen that put on Adam and Chris if they had seen that,
right.
I mean, they put pressure on him. I mean, that put pressure on them in the front 9, but I doubt they were checking too many scores in the front 9. They have a game plan. They're probably not checking scores until it comes down to the edge, and they need to know what shots do I need to make.
Right.
But if you take that double bogey out of the equation and even just give him a par, I mean, he basically goes out there and finishes with a 26 down, which would have been 2 strokes off the lead. And that could have put enough pressure in for Chris or Adam to just blow some shots out there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
Course record 12 down. Seriously, guys, if you haven't seen the interview, it was one of my personal favorite interviews to get.
Yes. He and one of my favorite moments of the entire tournament was this little girl coming up to him and was like just holding the Sharpie and the disc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was like, "Me?" You know, me?
He blushed a little
He
bit.
did. He got so red. And you know, as we was watching the lead card tee off on 18, she walked up to him and was like, "Please," and you know, he's like, "Okay," and you could just tell that that was like his first autograph, his first of many to come.
Yeah.
But that was a very wholesome moment, and I appreciated it. I was glad
Oh,
I
it was
got to
great.
see that.
Big fan.
Yeah. Um. All right. So now swapping over to FPO on the Who Am I? Um. First off, let's see here. I play for Innova. I made it into the top 10. I was first in 3 categories: OB rate with a .37, first in strokes gained, Circle 1X, with 7.78 strokes gained, and first in fairway hits with 86% throughout the tournament.
I mean, you could not have given me a harder one. What are there 8 players in the top 10 who play for Innova?
No, there's 5 in the top 10. It's not 10th. We'll go 9 and up. But yeah.
Okay. And it was first in strokes gained in what?
only took 1 OB all tournament. First in strokes gained, Circle 1X with 7.78 strokes gained to the field. And first in fairway hits of 86%.
Yeah, I don't know the strokes gained stat. So that hurts a little bit.
I just liked to include it as an extra one because it was first. You know what I mean? So it's like
Right.
it looks clean.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Henna.
Close. Um, Henna's wasn't good with Circle 1X, but she was second in fairway hits. Um,
Gotcha.
I'll give you another. I'll give you another shot.
Deanne Carey?
Yes,
Okay.
it was Deanne Carey. I'm gonna give you a half a point for that because it was a harder one.
Yeah. And how many did you say were in the top 10?
There was 6 that placed in the top 10 and 5 that was in the top 9. That's a lot of Innova.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, there's 6 in the top 10
Yeah.
and 7 with tied for 10th.
No, I said 5 in the top 9, 6 in the top
Yes,
10.
there's 6.
What? In the top 9?
Top 9. Jessica Weiss, Emily Beach, Hannah Blumrose, Holly, Deanne, and Kat Merch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, 6.
Yeah,
So,
he could not have made that harder for like he barely narrowed it down for me with that.
hey, that's part of it though. That is
That's
part of
nasty.
it.
That's dirty. I deserve that half a point for how dirty you played that one.
Hey, at least I gave you a second chance at it, and you did get it. I was expecting you to go with Cat Merch because of all the first stuff. So, you know,
Yeah, but I don't think she really did first in anything. I thought she was really consistent across the board, but she was like top 5 in most and no firsts.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at her stats, but
Here, I'll pull it. So she was third in fairways, eighth in parked, third in circle one, sixth in circle two, third in circle or in birdie percentage. Yeah, so she didn't have a single first. So I
right.
was kind of able to rule that out.
But yeah, I
I
want to
wanted
kind
to
of
don't
speak.
I wanted to say Cat, but I was like Cat did not get first in fairway hits. I know that for
Right.
sure.
I thought it was very impressive. 1 OB stroke the entire tournament. That's
That's kind of
really
nuts.
good. That's a .37. 1 out of 57 throws went OB. I was like, that deserves to be talked about. That was a very
She
good
took
showing. She took
she
fourth.
took two OBs. She
No,
took
that's
one and
2
one.
strokes gained or strokes lost. The 2.0. That's 2 strokes lost on that one hole.
No, she went OB on hole 10 in round 3 and then also on hole 17 in round 2. I have it all in front of me.
What? On UDisc it says just 1 out of 57 throws.
For um
Deanne Carey.
round for round 3.
No.
I can screenshot this and send it to you if you
Okay.
want.
Yeah. So just round 3. So she went round 17, round 3, hole 17, and round 1, hole 10. Is that what you
Yes.
said? Okay, so
Yeah.
2.
That's all right. I mean that
Yeah.
I still think that's the best OB rate of the weekend
Oh, for sure.
because it's a .037 OB rate.
Yes, that's what I have wrote down.
Mhm.
Pop. Yeah.
That's
So
not the strokes gained in Circle 1X is a pretty nuts stat.
yeah, that's 7.78. That's
That's crazy.
I feel like that's a lot to come in fourth. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean, but what are
they
you
say
talking?
championships are won in on the putting green, but
You're talking about fourth in the 2, 3, and 4 spots went 2 down, 1 down, and even.
yeah. Yeah, I mean it was very
So
close. Yeah. Very close considering.
yeah, I mean the strokes gained are kind of a weird stat still too.
It
They
is.
haven't reached the point where they're super trustworthy yet.
Right.
But I want to point this out. If for anybody who knows baseball, there is a stat um, that we use in baseball. It's called WAR, which stands for wins above replacement. Now, WAR calculations, when they were first introduced, like 20 years ago, very unreliable. A lot of the like algorithms they used to calculate that sort of stuff was, so so. But fast forward to 15 years later, which was about, 5 to 8 years ago, when, the stat kind of really started becoming important, it has now become one of the most important and trusted stats in all of baseball to determine how good that player really is, because the way that they determine those types of stats includes all of their abilities.
Right.
So, particularly, strokes gained from tee to green
You could see it as
and
being one of those
strokes
stats.
strokes gained on the putting green, those are going to be stats that when the algorithm gets figured out, they are going to be the most telling stats that we have.
And it'll kind of tell where people's strong suits are over a consistent basis all throughout the year. You know,
Well,
the strokes gain
hopefully
stat.
not. Hopefully, I kind of disagree with that. My hope is that those stats kind of come in and tell us how good of an overall player from the tee till the moment that disc touches the basket, strokes gained is going to tell us eventually how well rounded the player is, as
Right.
opposed to, you know, because we have stats to know how good of a driver they are. That's circle ones in regulation or fairway hits on par fours, and those kind of stats tell us those things. But to create a stat and have a good algorithm that works it out to tell us how well rounded is this player in every part of their game, that would be cool.
It really would be. And that's something that could be formulated just from the that stat, I feel like.
Yeah,
Um moving on. Uh gonna do the disc guessing game?
let's do it.
I
Let's do it
bet.
to it.
Alright. So I went last week. He was able to pick the disc. Um and I don't remember if I got it right or not. To the audio listeners, you probably know better than I do. Um but
From time to time.
yeah, from time to time. And
I appreciate you, Justin, by the way, telling us that we're kind of a big deal.
hey,
We kind of felt like a big
absolutely.
deal out there. It was
Yeah,
kind of fun.
there was so many players that were so kind to us
Yeah.
and talked with us and talked to us, and we didn't get turned down for a single interview that we asked for.
Yeah.
Um, we was kind of expecting it from Nico just because he simply doesn't do interviews. We had actually talked to him before the event, and he was like, "If I win," you know what I mean?
Right.
And we were like, "Okay, cool." But after he came in on round two, he was in a good mood, and we grabbed him, and he was like, "Heck yeah!" And he gave us a great interview. So, um, yes,
Yeah.
thanks to all of the players out there, truly, and all of the staff. It was awesome. Um, all right, so I'm gonna start a timer for 60 seconds. All right, and you let me know when you're ready to go.
I'm ready.
And go.
Trilogy.
No,
Discraft.
no,
Innova.
no.
Mm, Discmania.
Yes.
Putter.
No.
Midrange.
Yes.
Is it a mid-range that has a standard model and a tour series with a different name,
Um, I'm not
like the
sure.
M, like the MD3 has the Samurai?
It's not that one. I don't think this one does, but I don't want to tell you for sure.
Mm. Um, is it new to their lineup or something they've had since?
Older.
Okay. Is it the original MD?
Close, but no.
MD1?
No.
MD2?
Yes.
Okay.
Got it. With 7 seconds to spare.
Hail is yeah.
Yeah, I honestly don't know if they had a Tour Series MD2 or not. Um,
I don't think so. You would know. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure MD. I said that because I was like, well, maybe it's the MD3, but it's not the MD3 because it's a
it's the Iron
samurai, and
Samurai. Yeah,
he's trying to fool me.
yeah. No, if for instance, like if I would have had an FD or a Night Strike, and you said either one of those, I would have accepted it. So
Yeah.
yeah, no problem about that.
I'm not gonna lie. I legitimately thought you were gonna give me the Trident because you were just gonna be so excited over the news.
Right.
I was like, he's gonna be so excited about the Trident. That's the only disc he's even thinking about right now. So that's why I started with Trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I should start with Latitude, but then I was like, well, if it's not that, then I want to at least get all three brands out of the way immediately.
Yeah.
That saved me some
That's
precious
such a
time.
smart one. That's the reason I don't want to go with Trilogy. But yeah, it just kind of gives you that little head start, when you get it. Um,
Yoo-hoo.
yeah, but Discmania MD2. This thing's not supposed to be flippy. It's wildly flippy.
I mean,
It's a 4502.
what plastic though?
It's like their star line, S line.
Mm.
It feels great. It does. Feels great,
I don't
but
know.
it's just flippy. It's old.
I mean, they're opposite of Prodigy, so lower number, lower stability too.
Hmm.
So I mean, it's not supposed to be flippy, but it's not necessarily supposed to
It's
be
supposed to be
overstable
just kind of
either.
straight, but it's like roller flippy,
Mm,
not usable flippy really anymore. It's
whatever.
not. It's not even really got glide.
You'll have to let me throw it.
Yeah, you can throw it.
I'll have to try it.
You put a lot
We
of
got,
air under it
yeah,
in the
we gotta
open,
start.
it'd probably be
We got,
okay. But
we gotta start practicing for Crossville soon, anyways. So
yeah,
we'll bring it out one of the times we go out and play together, and
yeah, if
I'll
you
give it
like
a
it, you
go.
can have it.
Give it a go.
Give it a go. Yep. All
Yeah,
right.
well, I don't know if I need it. I really need an overstable mid range in my bag. I don't need another understable one
I have one that you should
because
try. It's called a
if I
method.
for everything that I have, that's like I don't know. I have understable in that speed range covered pretty
Mm-hmm.
well. I need overstable. I
Yeah.
don't have anything in the 4 to 6 speed that is like truly overstable.
Right. I
Most
mean,
of the time, yeah, most of the time I can throw the pig, but the only thing is like the pig, if I throw it that hard,
yeah, it's not really got a hookup at the end. It's gonna end relatively
it
straight.
well, no, it'll hook at the end, but it pushes straight too long if I
Yeah.
throw it like hard enough to give it mid-range distance because I can get the distance out of the pig that I want for this type of shot. But once I throw the pig that hard, because mine's super beat in, it loses that stability.
Yeah.
It'll even start to, flip up and ride to the right slightly if I throw it that hard.
Right.
So
Yeah. I got chat backing me up here. He said methods are money.
methods are money.
I
But I
really.
also I also want a distortion though, so bad.
Well, yeah, you could try it.
But they're not out yet.
No, not
No,
out
they're
yet.
not.
They're
And
also
then
they're
what
four
what is it
speeds
that
too. So
what's the newer MVP over stable mid range slash approach? It's like a 4 speed, but they call it a putt and approach.
entropy, or
Yeah, that's the one.
yeah,
I kind of want one of those too.
yeah. I was looking at those earlier.
I've got a pig for you. I'll be honest. I mean, I love the pig that I have. I don't think I'm ever gonna buy another one though. There are just better discs out there that do the same thing. That when this one becomes unusable, I probably won't go back
Yeah,
because I
you're really
love this
liking your
one.
Berg too, right?
Oh, I'm loving the Berg right now. The Berg saved my life in that last tournament a ton
Yeah,
because when you're thrown into a direct headwind, but you need to put a little something on it, but you don't want it to catch too much wind and just
yeah.
rise on you.
That no glide helps.
Yeah, that getting it to sit down. But I'll tell you what, some of the best approach shots I threw in that last tournament were with the pig.
Yeah,
Yeah, I parked a 200-foot straight uphill into a 30-mile-an-hour headwind hole with that pig. So I love that pig, but I don't think I'll get another one. I don't really like the thumb tracks, to be honest.
yeah,
But that pig has been in my bag so long I know exactly how to throw it, so it stays in there until it's done. And it's getting close, I'm not gonna lie. It will probably not be in my bag by the end of this year. It's getting too beat in.
yeah, yeah. See, the method, um, I, well, in the chat saying the new moonshine harps are good too. That's what that is right there, um, behind me. I have one on my wall and one in the bag. Um, died by Rob over at Shakedown. Thanks.
Yep.
Shout out. And
Shout out.
I like it. Um, however, it's really good for forehands. My backhands, though, it's just not quite got the flight that I need. So, um, I've kind of adapted and evolved my bag to where now, I was primarily forehand dominant, and I had to transition everything to where now I'm pretty balanced. I would probably say I 50-50 holes at least now, backhand and forehand. And I need discs that I can throw both ways. Um, So
Yeah, your bag was not well built for backhands,
it
that's for
wasn't.
sure.
It really wasn't. So now I've kind of got it set up to where I can do both with the discs that I have, and it's helped a lot. And I still got to work in some things and kind of phase out some
Yeah,
things, but
you're still in the phase where you're kind of learning what you're capable of with that newer backhand you've used. So you're
yeah,
gonna find some stuff you like and stuff you don't like, and
yeah, like the disc that
it is what it
is
is.
kind of my go-to is a Pro Starfire. Like it's that's not something I would have ever thought that I would have, be throwing, but
Right?
that thing's money
No,
on
I get you.
backhand. My hyzer flip game with it is like impressive. I like it.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of excited. I think we need to do like a mid-year in the bag again and see how much our bags have changed. My
Hey,
bag's
that's
changed
smart. Yeah,
a fair amount since we did our last one.
mine too, actually.
So
Yeah,
pretty.
mine has two. I need to sell some discs.
I
My
don't.
my back seat is like a disc golf store.
I think what I'm gonna yeah, I think what I'm gonna do is the next time I come to town, I'm gonna bring $30 and be like, all right, how many can I take? And then give me a number, and I'm just gonna start picking some stuff from your back seat.
It is. It's literally like a disc golf store. I
Oh man.
I've got probably 4 bags worth of discs in my truck,
Yeah.
but
Speaking of disc golf store, do you have the two discs from this weekend with you?
mm,
Our logo and the Music City disc.
maybe. Give me just a minute and I'll see. Continue on.
Continuing on. Well, for those of you guys, I really wish I had done this when we had probably 9 or 10 of you viewing still. Um, but this is all going to be posted on our socials, so it's going to be on Instagram, Twitter, and also on Facebook. But we're going to do a couple of giveaways. And one of the first giveaways, he's already back, so I can go ahead and tell you, and he can put it up on the screen for you. We have a disc from Music City Open with the exclusive logo from 2022. And that one's actually a full package. It comes with a Music City whale sack, a sticker, and a poster. And that's going to be something that we're going to be giving away to you guys here in the next couple of weeks. We haven't figured out exactly what format we want these giveaways to be, but we've hit a few milestones, and we just wanted to do something fun
Hmm.
to kind of commemorate our attendance of Music City Open as a media team and not just as people.
Right.
So the second thing that we did was we have a disc with our logo on it that we had Missy and Chris Dickerson sign. So you have both of the 2022 Music City Open Championship winners signed that disc with our logo on it. That's going to be given away as well.
What? No, it's not. This
He
one is.
says
It
no.
was the first one. That
What?
yeah. That
What?
one. Yeah.
I thought we were going to give it away. You said we were going to give it away.
Potentially no.
We're going to give it away.
Mm, I don't know. This was the first one. We will see.
We're going to
We're gonna
we're
have
going
to
to give it
hit
away.
some big milestones before we give this one away.
I don't know. That one and
I don't know.
that one we might do we might do like some sort of like a raffle for that one, monetary raffle.
Maybe
Um
to help
and
possibly get a new course installed. So
yeah, that's
that
what I
could
was
be the
thinking with
plan for
that one.
that one. Yep. But
So that's
these
that's what I'm
for
thinking.
sure coming up in the very soon future.
Yeah, so that giveaway will be posted on all the socials.
Yes. The whale sack.
Ethan's attached. Yeah, he is a little attached to that one.
Yeah, I am.
A
That was
little
the
bit.
first one I had made. I will get
Yeah,
them to sign another one.
that one's but it's not going to be the same because what when are we ever going to have another disc that we can say has our logo on it and was signed by both the champions
The day that they
right after
won.
their rounds,
Yeah.
right after their literally within 20 minutes of them winning the tournament, they signed this.
It's very true.
But that one's not going to be given away for free. That one's going to be some sort of a raffle, I think. And that's going to go to help fundraising for a new course that's going to end up in Smith County.
Correct. We are in the works. We will keep you guys updated. The more that I know, the more that you guys know.
Absolutely. It'll be kind of like a charity donation if you really think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm cool with that. Or if we hit a big milestone, that's fine too. But
Yeah.
yeah. But
When I think big milestones, I'm thinking like 1,000 followers on all socials.
that's what I was thinking too, like big milestone. Yeah.
But it won't
I
have the
don't know.
allure by then.
Maybe not. Whale sack.
Well said.
Speaking of whale sack, funny story. So Friday, Adam Hammis was playing and he was doing pretty good. He went 6 down through hole 6, and then he started running into some bogeys, and he was just getting a little upset. So by hole 13, his whale sack no longer felt good to him, I suppose, and he threw it in the creek. He threw it in the creek. He got so mad he just threw it in the creek. And one of the fans, we was out there on Saturday and ran over there to the creek where he threw it and went and got it out of the water. So shout out to you, Ryan. He came up to me and was like, "Hey, I know you'll see him. You want to try to give this back to him?" I was like, "I don't think he's gonna want it back." And he's like, "Well,
For real.
at least it'll be a cool story." I was like, "Okay, well, here's the story." So I ended up taking it. I dried it out as good as we could. Me and Daniel was sitting there trying to break up the clumps for hours, and
As it was drying.
as it was drying, and we ended up after round 3, the tournament. Chris, Adam, and Ezra were all sitting at the table. Speaking of which, Chris sat at our table, the Tennessee Twos disc golf table, to sign all the autographs, which was dope. That was awesome.
Hell yeah.
And after everybody kind of got their autographs situated and we were about to head out, I was like, "So, Adam, I've got a whale sack of yours." And he's like, "The green one?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "Keep it. I don't want it. Take that thing."
Yeah.
He said, he said, "Keep it. I don't want it." But yeah, that was
It was really funny. He was laughing about it.
He was laughing. He's like, "Keep it.
Keep it. I don't want it.
He said, "Just that's memorabilia, memorabilia now."
He's like, "I don't want that thing back."
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, that was funny. So now Daniel has it and is using it.
Yeah, it's in my bag. It's going to be a funny story for anybody who plays around with me from now on.
Yep.
I joked with him on the way home. I was like, "I'm keeping this. This is going in my bag." And then I wasn't really gonna take it, but then I was like, he knocked it off like the center console or something. I was like, "You lost my whale sack!"
And it was like down between my seat, and I was like, here you go."
He picked it up and handed it to me, and I was like, "No, I was just kidding. You can keep it if you want. I don't really care." And he's
Yeah.
like, "No, you take it." I'm like, "All right, I'll use it."
I'm not gonna use it. But
I don't know. Like, I'm cheap, man. I love paying for discs. I have a hard time paying $20 for a whale sack, though.
I
I don't know.
I just haven't got to use one to know if they are very, very helpful or not. And obviously they are. But yeah, I mean that's something that I feel like I need to work on my ability to throw before I start adding enhancements. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Whereas I know that I'm going to need those enhancements this summer because I'm used to dry climate,
Yeah.
and when you sweat in a wet climate, it's a different kind of feel, and you need to be able to dry your hand out.
Yeah,
Or
you
so.
ever been sticky?
I know.
You ever rolled around in goo? There you
Yeah,
go. Welcome to
I
Tennessee in the summer.
I know that I'm gonna need it. So he was like, "No, you go ahead and take it."
Yeah.
All right, funny story now. Like I'm gonna be patting that around in the middle of my rounds and be like, "You want to hear a funny story?"
Right. Yeah. It's like, yeah. Lean your seat back, boys.
Lean, lean your seat back, boys. Grandpa Bacon's gonna take you back to the old days. He's dying over there right now. I used to.
Grandpa Bacon.
He has no idea. Okay, so when I used to do this at work, every now and again somebody would lose a cane
Oh
where I used
god.
to work. They would put it down somewhere and forget to take it with them, and somebody would turn it in like, "Hey, I found this cane." I swear I'd walk around with that thing for 30 minutes. I'd be like, "Can somebody get me my water? Grandpa Bacon's got to go take a seat."
Oh god.
It's a
I'm
whole bit.
sorry if I spiked the audio levels for you guys that are listening. I tried not to. It hit me different.
It was worth it.
Oh, it was worth.
100% worth.
Yep. That was funny.
Well,
Yep.
you want to talk about Daniel's drama?
Yeah, absolutely. Get into it. Snap.
Daniel's drama. Okay, so we obviously know Nico got warned for his time on the course. And so there's a few things that we're gonna kind of like go for here. You okay, man? You got a twitch? What's going on?
Like I seen something in my mustache, but it was just like my mustache.
I just like I'm trying to talk here, and I just look over, and he's doing this just over and
I
over
was
again. I'm like,
petting my
what's going on
mustache.
over
Like so, there was like a dark spot in it. And I'm like, what is this? And it was just my
there?
hair. I
Bro, I
think
am.
I we.
I'm so sorry for you guys who are just listening and you can't see what's happening. It's pretty hysterical.
uh, the chat said, "See, you probably missed that part where when you said Daniel's drama, and I went the
No,
Z snap.
I got you.
I got a reaction for that. Heck yeah.
All
Okay, get with it, Mr. Dramatic.
right.
Grandpa
It's
drama.
it's actually 4 snaps, Justin. I got it too.
Well, I only did 3. All right.
Well, yeah, but
See, I didn't
I do.
complete the Z.
I got extra snaps. Okay, I'm sassy.
I know you are sassy.
You can't hear my snaps because my sound's being moderated, but I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. Okay. All right. So you guys know obviously that Nico got warned for his time, and it ended up being a massive discussion on disc golf Twitter, of course, because of course it is. It's disc golf Twitter. I can't even imagine what this turned into on Reddit, but I didn't look because I couldn't handle it. That was too much. I was working, okay? um, so somebody tweeted out something along the lines of, I had to shut off live coverage of MPO already because I hate watching Nico putt. I started yelling at the TV every time he got up. And Drew Gibson quote tweeted him and said, I see this complaint a lot. Did the players nor the staff make a call at any point? Let's just do away with the rule as if everyone, including staff, is too scared to call it. It's easy. Start a timer, goes off, say, sorry, pal, gotta be quicker than that.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then Chris Clemens replies, for me personally, I get irritated, but I deem my round and what I'm doing more important than worrying about Nico. I have been in a group who's called him before and it wasn't pleasant. I think we will speed it up if we all start to call it or else he gets stroked. Now, a lot of things happened in that conversation that I want to talk about individually. Start with the time and the rule itself. Now, I love watching Nico, but I'm not going to say that anybody's alone in the frustration when it takes time because when you're talking about a 15-foot putt, I don't even blink at a 15-foot putt, and I am not a professional. If it's windy, yeah, sure, take your time, try to get the best shot that you can. I'll even take a little bit longer when I'm actually in a tournament on a 15-foot putt, but I've never taken more than 15 seconds for a 15-foot putt. I understand taking a little bit longer, lining yourself up, getting yourself composed when you're at circle's edge or circle two. And we saw Nico can some beautiful putts from distance after
Yeah.
taking his time. And I appreciate that. But I really like what Drew was saying here, basically, because he didn't just say we need to be calling it, we need to give everybody their strokes. He also said if we're not going to call it, we need
Just
to get rid of the
get rid
rule,
of the rule. Right.
right?
That
He
way it's
didn't
not
he
even an issue.
Exactly. He didn't just say call the rule, figure it out. He said he basically gave 2 lines of thought: is we call it or we need to get rid of the rule. We can't just have it one way. And
Right.
if we have it one way, then we need to enforce it. But he also kind of gave that, the options.
Right.
Now, one of the things I kind of wanted to point it out with Chris's reaction was, I worry about my round. I try not to worry about it. And this is the part I want to impress on the most is I've seen it called on Nico before and it wasn't pretty. And one of the things I kind of want to talk about with that is we've actually had a couple of conversations with different people this weekend, and the conversations were actually not related to Nico in this particular case. It was related to a stroke penalty post round dispute for a player who misplayed. And, they were arguing that they were doing what they were supposed to. The card was kind of arguing, well, you didn't tell us what you were doing through the rounds. We misunderstood you. So it turned into a very long winded debate and discussion between some people at the Pro Tour and the TD and everything that was going on there.
A two
And one of
hour
the
debate.
discussions, yeah, it turned into a really long one. And one of the things that we ended up discussing with a couple of players that I'll leave unnamed, for discretion, is the idea that we need to maybe consider having stuff like moderators on the course for this type of situation. Because number one, we don't want, and we've had this conversation before, but this is the first time that we've really experienced it firsthand. And then on top of that, the long discussions over the last couple of tournaments about Nico and his putting and how long he's taking. It's so important, like Chris was saying, that it turned into a whole thing. I think it's so important for the integrity of the sport to not have players calling each other out on these types of rules,
Right.
because all it does is create discord and animosity between the players.
Yep.
And that's not good for anybody because you're going to upset the player you're calling it on, number one. But, that also means that you have to deal with those feelings as a player that's on the card, and you have to deal with whatever animosity, and that affects your round as well.
Yeah.
It's not just the player who gets called who's going to be affected in those situations.
Yeah.
So,
However, let's say we are in that situation, right? And you say, um, we'll get to that in just a second, Justin. So let's say you have a lie that's in the brush, and you know it's not easy to get to by no means. It's really uncomfortable. It's in briars. It's whatnot, but it's still playable. All right. You come to me and the card in general and be like, "Hey, I don't think I can get to this. Um, is there any way I can take some relief?" And normally the reaction to that, I feel like, would be like, "Yeah, sure, play it back on the line back here." However, a couple of people are like, I mean, I could get to that in 15 seconds or less. Like, they're like, that's
right.
not that hard. I've been in way harder situations. So, I feel like maybe that's um, a part of like disc golf that is in certain regions where you have more thick underbrush or stuff like that, and maybe
Right.
players are not so much accustomed to, and that's something that you have to get used to. It is a part
Sure.
of the course. So if I told you, nah, man, I can get to that, and the card agrees, what would you do?
And it turns into animosity and discord.
No, but I mean, how would you play it?
How would I play it?
Yeah,
If I mean, I don't have any argument. I'm easygoing. You can't ask somebody like me. If my whole card looks at me and says no, we could get to that, I'm gonna say all right, and then I'm gonna do what I can.
right. And then you try to get to it and pitch out or whatever.
Right.
But
But to
in
also be fair, I'm not I'm not out there competing for a title like this.
no, exactly, and I get that. Um, but if we had agreed that you were not gonna take casual relief, and then you throw casual relief and still expect the same score, that's where the problem lies. That's where it is. So
Well, and it also like because you're kind of explaining one of the situations that was talked about in a nonchalant way. And one of the situations like regarding that was, the card, in this situation, the card was kind of under the impression in this case that he was taking relief, but he was taking it in a different way. It's kind of like, I'm going to take my OB relief and I'm going to back up, as opposed to, I'm going to take relief from this bad situation. So then you have a miscommunication on the card, and then there's nobody out there to really decipher that situation.
Right. And the problem was is it wasn't OB. Um,
Exactly.
that was the problem is they thought that it was. It turns out it wasn't, and you know, so on and so forth. It's yeah. So and that's one of the things Justin in chat is provisional, provisional, provisional. He wouldn't have been able to play a provisional because he did not think that he could get to the lie. So it was yeah,
Right. And the other thing you have to consider about provisionals as well is, a lot of times the provisional system is there to increase the rate of play, right? To make a
right,
play in a timely manner and let the decision come later, which way was the right way to play that. Well, when you get into these types of situations where it's the rules that are either unclear, or the player is unclear in how they're presenting their argument for the rules, the provisional doesn't really come into play, because the player might think that they're playing it the right way, and the card is in this situation thinking that they're playing it in a different way because it was not explained correctly. And then, you come into the situation where then the whole card has to argue about it later on, like, that's not what we thought you were doing. Well, that's what
yeah,
I said I was doing. Well, not really,
yeah.
you know. And
It
this
puts
is where it kind of
everybody in a
comes.
hard situation that they shouldn't have to be in the first place.
Exactly. And here's the thing is, when you talk about a small tournament where you have everybody all on one course, you have a TD, you have an assistant TD, and you just, you kind of do what you can, and talk to a TD whenever you can about these types of rules. That doesn't work on Elite Series events, or in this case, it's a Silver Series, but it's still a Pro Tour event. It is a near top level event.
Yep.
And this is where we kind of talk about where, you can't, the TD can't be everywhere at once,
No.
right? We know that. And what kind of a system can we put in place to where we have people who are out there that can help by making these decisions, whether it's having a few of them stationed at certain areas around the course, and they go and help where they're needed when they're called. What can we do to eliminate having bad blood between the players?
Yeah. I agree. And I think that's where the Disc Golf Pro Tour needs to hire marshals. Um, even if it's just like four, four or
Yeah.
five, you know.
And I don't even think that it necessarily needs to be a hiring system. You could definitely get people out there who have their certifications properly, because that's the same thing. Like when you talk about players who are certified, they're certified because they know the rule book and they get
Right.
tested on their ability to know, understand, and enforce the rules out there.
I mean, they could be
And
regional, you know.
right.
That is possible, but still, that's the only way that you're gonna get that is if you see more money come into the sport. So it's just one of those things that hopefully we do get it with time. And as for other sports that have to regulate themselves, um, it's I don't know of another sport that does that. Especially not one that is as big as um disc golf is. Even cornhole has officials.
Yep. They sure
So
do.
horseshoes, cornhole, pickleball, tennis.
The only difference though when you talk about that is, the area that needs to be covered in those types of sports is much smaller. You can have an official that's covering an entire tournament, but they're in the same room in the
Yes.
same building at all times. So you can have one official, but you can't have one official on a disc golf course, especially one as large as Mill Ridge.
Yeah.
Mill Ridge is a long, long walk,
Yes.
right? And you can't have golf carts just running in and out all over the course during these rounds. So
Right.
that means you have to have at least a few, I would say a minimum of four, handling a quadrant of the course.
Yeah.
You
That's
know what I
that's
mean?
kind of where I'm at as well. And yeah, uh,
But yeah, but
this
the thing
chess has
is
officials. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
The, the whole point is that players, in my opinion, should not be policing each other. The sport has grown to the point where I don't think players should be
I agree.
policing each other.
Yeah, I agree completely. 100%.
Well, there you have it.
Yep.
That is Le Daniels drama.
Yay.
Drama.
Um. All right. So, also, quick shout out. We're not going to cover this into detail, but Paul Macbeth did throw down the mountain,
Yep.
um, over Calvin Heinberg with one stroke. Um, it was really a two-man battle. So it they said it was exciting. I guess if there's some coverage out from the disc golf guy, supposedly he was there.
Yep.
Um, we'll see that, and I'll probably watch it because it's Paul and Calvin. But
Yeah. I mean, you can't not watch a battle between Paul and Calvin. It was only
exactly,
2 rounds. It wasn't A tier,
I still
but
feel
yeah,
bad that Calvin's been on the lower end of two battles back to back. Um,
yeah. Who
he
knows? Maybe if there was a third round out there, he might have actually taken it down.
maybe,
But
but it's one of those things, man. Like Calvin is literally the best player to not be winning. You know what I
right,
mean? Like he is just like just there. He's there.
yeah.
You know, it's close. Um,
And I don't think there were even any notable FPO names there. Correct.
Ellen Widboom ended up taking it down over Lisa. No, was it? Yeah, Lisa Fakis that that played it.
It might have been. I don't have it pulled up in front of
I
me,
believe Lisa
unfortunately.
Fakis took second. Um, if I'm not, yeah, and then Hannah Macbeth also placed third.
Yeah.
Um,
Shout out to Hannah
yeah,
for
shout out to
getting out there and
Hannah
playing a
getting out there
tournament.
playing. But also, I wanted to shout out Brian Earhart. He did a great job. I listened back to the commentary. That man is made for commentary.
Yeah.
Uh, him and Charlie Eisenhood
I thought it might have
together,
been some of the best commentary
I
we've
think
had
it
this entire
was the
year
best
so far.
commentary that we've had this entire year. It was it was just playing in the background where we were at, where
Right.
we were stationed, and not once did I ever think it got annoying or something sounded wrong.
Yeah.
Not once.
And which is, interesting to consider because that was, something I had actually mentioned a few weeks ago um at Belton where I was like, I've heard them say the wrong thing like 6 times in a row now and I'm upset.
Yeah, exactly. And I huge shout out because I think they hit the nail on the head with that pairing.
Yeah.
Because Brian can do play by play and color, and Charlie can do play by play and color. He took the play by play side on like half the holes and color half the holes, and Brian took play by play on half the holes and color half the holes, and it was just a beautiful mix.
Yeah.
It was really good. It was almost that Jomez feel of like you have Germ talking about this hole, you have Yuli talking about this hole, you have Nate
Yeah.
talking about this hole, and it flowed so well. So huge shout out to them.
And one of the things too is I really thought that they did a great job of explaining that course because
Mm-hmm.
um, Mill Ridge is extremely deceiving in the fact that it is a very open course that does not play in any way, shape, or form like an open course.
Yeah.
It is one of those things we talked about it in our preview of Music City Open last week where you pick your lines and you have to stick to them. It's not just throw a big spike hyzer into, the fairway and then throw your upshot. Hole 4 is a beautiful example of that because off the tee, you look at it and you're like, all right, I just throw my big spike hyzer and I land it right in the middle of the fairway and then I throw my approach into the tunnel. No,
Yep.
absolutely not. You are dead in the water if you end up anywhere on the left side of the fairway. Is it inbounds? Sure. Do you have some, area on the left side to play with? Yes. Is your shot going to be extremely difficult from that spot? Yes. I mean, one of the wildest shots I've ever seen in my entire life was Nico approaching the green from the worst possible spot on that entire fairway and parking it, because you don't see those types of shots unless you build a course with that type of line.
Yep.
Because I'm going to be completely honest, he was in trouble. He was in danger of actually bogeying that hole,
Yeah.
and he turned it around into a birdie with an extremely unconventional shot. The fact that he went over the top
It
with the
was
spike hyzer
it was one of the
and
most lucky, creative, perfection plays I've ever seen.
I mean, I don't have the words to describe it and all the glory that it was,
Yeah.
because first of all, when he threw the shot, I looked at it, I watched it go up, and I'm like, there's no way this works.
Well, it was so wide. It went over the tree line and then cut back through the tree line right at the basket.
Absolutely nuts. So they did a beautiful job of I mean, it's so hard to explain to somebody how an open course is not open at all.
Yeah.
And they did that to perfection in their commentary.
Right.
So really kudos. It was seriously some of the best commentary I've heard
Yep. Same.
on live.
I completely agree with that. I was impressed. Um, and
All
then
right,
we're
y'all.
gonna. What's up?
I was just gonna say, all right, we're gonna start winding down the show a little bit. We're gonna talk
Yep.
about Tallahassee very sparingly. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how long ago a lot of these dropouts happened, but a lot of players did end up dropping Tallahassee in lieu of preparing for Champions Cup. It seems I know Paul Macbeth had scheduled that he was skipping Music City, and then he was going to play Tallahassee, and then head on over
Champions
to
Cup.
WR Jackson. He is off the list. There's a couple other notable names that I've seen drop it, but there's still a few players of note to talk about out there.
Yep.
Um, so let's see. I'm gonna pull this up real quick, kind of go over some of the notable names. On the FPO side, your notable names that we're gonna see at this tournament are going to be Cat Merch, the Manda Hondo sisters, Maria Oliva, who had not so great of a weekend at Music City, so she's gonna be looking for something this week
Yeah.
because she did not look great. Um, Jessica Wee's going to be out there. Sarah Hokum, Lisa Fakis, Holly Finley, and Kona Panis. Those are your most notable names. There's a few other notable names sprinkled in, but those are your names
Right.
really. And in my eyes, I think Cat Merch can go out there and possibly put on a really good show. She
Mm-hmm.
put on a great show here at Music City, but with the field that I see, it's Valerie's tournament to lose at this
Yeah.
point.
I agree. Um. So your picks for to win are Valerie and who on MPO?
We'll talk about MPO in a second.
Okay.
Valerie's my pick for FPO.
Same.
Um, I'm not even gonna go into a dark horse to um,
Make
hit the
podium.
podium because honestly, the field is so thin. The names that would be a dark horse for me to throw in there and say, yeah, this is a good dark horse pick. I know absolutely nothing about
Right.
the player field besides those players that we mentioned, and any of the other players that I have mentioned, I wouldn't consider a dark horse with this field. So yeah, it's Valerie's tournament to lose. I really hope we see a big Kona sighting. We saw some good stuff with her in the final rounds of her last tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and interestingly enough, last week when we had talked about Texas State, I had mentioned like, hey, we had our first Missy Gannon sighting of the entire year out there, and she came out and won a tournament.
Yep.
So, that was kind of our first Kona sighting this year.
But maybe, just maybe.
Maybe just maybe she comes out and does something spectacular.
Never know. We might have a playoff with the dynamic girls.
Hey, could you imagine a three-way tie? Have both
Right.
of the Mandahano sisters and then Kona?
That would be epic.
That would be wild. It's not going to happen, but that would be wild.
That would be epic.
All
Um.
right. And
Go ahead.
if you have anything else to add to
Nope.
FPO, all right. MPO Field at Tallahassee. Your notable names are going to be Gannon Burr, Nico Castro, Luke Humphreys, Thomas Gilbert, Aaron Gossage, Emerson Keith, Mason Ford, Garrett Gerthy, um, and then the notability starts to trail off, but you do have some other, very capable players out there. Um, he's kind of a little bit lower just because his point standings, obviously, after the surgery. Matt Oram is also going to be out there. Um, but yeah, there's a decent field out there. It's not quite as good as Music City, I would say, but it still could shake down to be a really exciting finish out there.
Right.
Um, I don't know. I don't know who I want to pick. Who's your pick?
Um, so I am just gonna go ahead and say uh, that Prodigy is gonna have the entire podium on MPO side. That's my pick. I'm
All
gonna
right.
say Thomas Gilbert takes it down, Gannon Burr in second, and Luke Humphreys in third.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I could definitely get with that. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know a whole lot about the course out there at Tallahassee. Um,
I have no
but
earthly idea.
yeah,
But that's my picks. Thomas Gilbert just plays really well in Florida. So
yeah,
I feel like he's got a very good chance to win. And he was in contention the whole first round with Paul and Calvin um, at Throw Down
that's
the
true.
Mountain. So I'm
Yeah,
thinking, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, if Calvin was out there, I'd pick him to win simply because it's
Oh,
Florida.
absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty good pick. I kind of forgot what Thomas Gilbert's undefeated in Florida or
Well,
something.
up
Some
until Throw
wild
Down the Mountain.
up in. Oh, that's right. He was out there.
Yep.
Well,
Out of 5 tournaments, that's the first one that he's lost. He was 4-0 this year in
that's
Florida.
freaking.
So it's hard to pick
Uh,
against the man.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm gonna say that Matt Oram actually goes out and takes this one down.
Very
Gets his
possible.
first victory of the season. Um, I'm thinking, I don't know. Thomas Gilbert could definitely be up there on the podium, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick um, Gannon Bird, Nico, and Matt Oram as your podium.
Yeah. It, Nico played well down there at Music City, so it was hard for me not to put him in the top 3. It really was. I just had to go with the Prodigy thing um,
Yeah,
because it sounds cool. So, yeah, another thing that I could very well see is Valerie and Mason taking it down. Um,
yeah.
they have done that 13 times already, where they have both won. That's impressive. That's a
That's kind of
powerhouse
nuts.
couple. Yeah,
That's kind of nuts.
yeah. So,
You got to watch out for that.
yep. Like when one of them's doing good, both of them are doing good.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if that has any correlation or not, but it's great. So, yeah, that's all I got.
That's all I got. I
All
don't
right
have a
then.
tail of the tape this week.
I do.
Go for it.
So Dr. Hoy, which was the tournament director for Music City Open, I was walking with him Friday, as we were coming around the stretch, for the lead card, and and he noticed the sign on hole 18 was upside down. And I was like, what in the world? He's like, well, that's not supposed to be like that. He goes up behind it. It's taped there. Literally taped there with clear packing tape.
Oh my
He spins it around and sticks it back on. I said, bro, we got to tell her the tape segment and do not make me. He's like, it's going to make it, ain't it? I was like,
god.
yeah, it's going to make
Yeah.
it. He's gonna make it. So shout out Dr. Hoy. He got it all fixed up, and the staff got it all put back together. But yeah, it was funny.
Shoot. Yeah, I've never seen anybody play a hole 81, but apparently everybody played hole 81 that day.
That's exactly what it was. It was like, we're throwing back here. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, yeah, but it was funny. It was cool. Um, yeah. So that's my tale of the tape, actual,
Yeah,
literally tape. So
literal tape.
yeah, but yeah, I thought that was funny, and
Oh,
yeah, shout out to everybody. Thanks again. I believe we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show, end it here. You got any last
yeah.
words?
Yeah. As for our Hitting the Lines segment, sponsored by Hitting the Lines podcast, I don't think we're going to have one this week just because they didn't do any um, any lines for Music City, even though they did some for Belton, which was weird. So I'm kind of confused. They might do some. If they do some, we will have an after hours episode of Hitting the Lines, but I can't make any promises because they didn't do them for Music City. I checked like 3 or 4 different times and I didn't see any
Right,
lines. So either my phone was bugging or they didn't have any lines. I didn't see Hitting the Lines podcast post about anything for Music City either. So that's going to lead me to believe that there weren't any.
right.
If they do pop up, there will be an episode later this week. If not, then it all depends. If we get content that we want to talk about, we'll do an after hours for you, but I'm not going to promise one this week. I
Right.
do apologize again for not having one last week, but we did ton, a ton of extra content for you. I believe you posted on Facebook because they were not posting the full clips of those interviews that you were going to compile those into a YouTube video.
Yes, correct.
All right.
And then I'll post the link to the YouTube video on the Facebook page. So make sure you're following the Facebook page. Um, the format for Facebook posting reels, I guess, is like 15 seconds. So anything over that, it just replays. Um, and I didn't know
Super
that.
weird.
I didn't know that. I thought Instagram reels and Facebook reels were the same. So I was wrong. I don't know. I guess you got to meet a certain criteria first before you get the Facebook Reels unlocked to 3 minutes. So, Instagram Reels, they were fine. It wasn't anything to do with the videos. It was just part of the format that Facebook had. But we will get all those interviews up and out. Hopefully tomorrow. Try to get the podcast up. Maybe no later than tomorrow. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Um,
So, and this, I did want to mention this out for our listeners that do listen only out on the podcast networks. Um, I'm back to work, which means that our podcast will probably be starting a little bit later. I would expect 7:30 Eastern time to be
pretty
the
normal.
approximate time, 17 at the earliest. So 7:30 Eastern time for live, and then it gets a little bit late, especially when we have episodes that go over an hour to an hour and a half. That means that Ethan has to get to bed because he works really early in the morning. So I'm going to kind of take a little bit of charge here. I haven't talked to him about this, but we're going to expect that episodes will be posted um, basically midnight on Wednesday evenings to the listening side.
Right.
So just so you guys are aware, we're gonna try to make that as regular as possible. That when you wake up on Thursday and you're driving to work and you want a podcast to listen to, and this is your podcast, Thursday mornings it'll be available to you. That's going to be kind of the new norm for us. So we're not going to put so much of an emphasis of trying to get the episodes up right after immediately having them up on Wednesday. So live on Tuesdays, audio feeds on Thursdays. Um,
Yep.
that'll be the schedule.
Thursdays at the latest.
Yeah, Thursday it'll be basically the goal is to always have it up
Yep.
when you wake up on Thursday morning.
Yep.
So
Yep.
midnight Wednesday is really what we're thinking.
Right. So, with that being said, thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. We had a pretty good live chat feed tonight. A lot of viewers came in. We held a pretty concurrent viewership, which was awesome. Thank you so much for that. The listens are going insane. Um, the um, the last 4 episodes are skyrocketing. So we are getting a lot of new listeners. We're usually gaining around 9 new listens a day from unique listeners. That is awesome. That's awesome. That's growth. That's potential. So just thanks everybody. We've reached a lot of countries. We've reached a lot of states. We're only like 14 states away from reaching the entire United States. So thank you.
Let's go.
Shout out to everybody and tell your friends that if they live in another state to check us out. So we're just
So,
marking them off
yeah,
one by one.
got a whole bunch of people who just happened to click in here literally right this second. So, all you guys, thank you guys for clicking on us and joining us. We're actually ending the podcast right now. But again, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. There's a couple other RSS feeds that you can actually look for
Yep.
and find them on as well, including Facebook. Again, this episode will be posted by Thursday. Thank you guys for clicking. Sorry you guys came in at the end, but we do appreciate you guys clicking in.
Yep, absolutely. And again, thanks everybody. We will talk to you guys later. Everybody have a great night, great rest of your week, and we will see you guys later. Thank y'all. Peace.